And we are live, everyone. My name is Diamond Rivera of Diamond Rivera Films. And today we have that I consider one of the most anticipated guests of this platform, Live Discussions with Diamond. And I mean, I can't even introduce, I need you to introduce yourself.
Hi, Diamond. My name is Tina Cavicchio. I'm very mixed with emotions to be here, to talk with you, and very honored to talk with you because I really admire you as a human. And yeah, I'm the director of Next Level Fusion Dance Team. It's a long name. And I'm a dancer based in Boston, especially based in Boston right now in quarantine, you know what I'm saying? But yes.
No, man, I truly appreciate having you on this platform. And I really believe you've been one of the guests that has been very, very just anticipated. So many people want to hear your story. So many people want to hear what's in the world of Tina. And especially during quarantine, we're in a time that everybody's kind of stuck at home and everybody's ideas are brewing. And it's really, really important that we as a community are coming together, but also hearing the stories of the artists that we see in our communities that travel, that give classes, that give lectures on what's important in their lives. And, again, I appreciate having you on this platform. And for me, how I really want to start this discussion is I really want to take it all the way back to where Tina really first how dance was introduced to you, and just kind of going with the flow of things.
Yeah, all the way back. um, Dance and music have been a part of my life since I was born. My father is a musician and he plays like ballroom gigs. So from when I was a baby, I was going into these ballroom scenes and bopping around. My mother's a musician. My aunt is a ballet teacher. So dance has been a part of my life forever. Dance is also, more importantly than like being a dance student and all of that, dance has been my way to escape reality sometimes. So most of my dancing, I would say in hours wise, even like 2 hours prior to when I got on this live, is just dancing in my room by myself and imagining myself in some fantasy land. And like that is where I find my relief from the world or from when I was younger. So my dance journey has always been a way for me to escape in a way. And so my training has been in all different styles, from ballet to jazz, to ballroom, which is how I got introduced to the Latin dance scene. I was very much into ballroom because of my father, and I didn't know that the Latin dance scene existed, but I always really gravitated towards like salsa, mambo, cha-cha-cha. We didn't have bachata, but somebody in the scene was like, you should check out this club, Havana, which I was teaching at before quarantine. And the first people I saw were Jen and Louise, who I love so much from Boston, shout out. And they were teaching. And I saw this strong, powerful woman teaching there with the mic. And I was like, who is this bad bitch? God, I love Jenna and Louise so much. And I walked in and I was like, oh my God, there's people my age because, ballroom scene usually it's a little bit of an older crowd. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Nothing wrong with it or anything. And they're very, very much like competition and like showcase based, not really like about the social dance. Like their socials end at like 9 p.m. Yeah. So I was like, oh my God, there's people my age and they're playing Latin music. And I fell in love and I quit ballroom like a few months after that. So that's kind of how I got involved with the Latin dance scene, and I have not left ever since.
Oh man! And then I know you were just saying that you started in Havana that like a social room, and I've seen so many photos, so many visuals, and I think that's kind of, I guess I would assume, it's Boston's kind of premier dance space. It's kind of where most of the dancers in Boston or in the surrounding areas kind of come to gather, because I also know that they have performances there. I also know just they just have a great presence there, and there's so many dancers come and go from there. And as well, you spoke about Jen and Luis, that I have had the pleasure of meeting them, and they are really, really amazing people. I
Mhm.
really think that, especially with Boston, I've seen the unity aspect in that, because you guys kind of have a large scene in your regards, but compared to other cities, I really love that you guys have that unity aspect and support one another, because it's definitely very, very, very important that our scene has those examples. And like you said, you came from your dad and your mom being a musician, your dad and in the dance world, and for you now kind of being exposed to so many different styles of dance, not just bachata, because
Mhm.
everybody realizes that a lot of the dancers that we've seen, their exposure to dance was from youth a lot of times, and they were exposed to so many different styles before they kind of got into that bachata world. So I really love to hear that. And for me as well, when it came to Boston, when was kind of your first introduction into the bachata world? Do you remember like the year or the time that was?
Oh yeah, it was 5.5 years ago. So not that long ago. 5.5 years ago. Even a little less than that. It was like the first week of May.
Hmm.
5 years ago, the first week of May, whenever that. So 2015 or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was that first day that I walked into Havana Monday and I saw Jen Louise, and that was kind of it for me. And it was Bachata Monday, so it was full of bachata. And I didn't dance much bachata. I was very salsa, mambo, cha cha cha. Um, but yeah, and you know, I think a lot of people think of me as like a bachata dancer, which I am.
Mhm.
But I love all styles of dance. And in Boston, like you said, it's a very like to me, it's a very, very supportive dance community. And a lot of the artists and instructors really try to like support each other in the best way that they can. Obviously, it's not perfect, but for the most part, I love the community. I love the scene. And so in a way, I think we also try to fit like what's missing in the scene. So
Yes.
we had like a lot. We have Salty Control on one. We have Masacote, Afro Cuban on two. We had Jen and Louise doing like urban traditional type, and then we didn't really have people doing sensual. So I kind of like took that into, which is why I kind of started teaching sensual bachata. But that doesn't mean that I don't love everything else. It's kind of like where I could best fit without like creating any competition as well, if that makes sense.
Mhm. No, absolutely, because in that type of aspect, it's important that we kind of get our influences, because sometimes when we're in a dance scene or a community that's kind of just one-sided and one-guided, that's all we know. So like you had Masacote, Salsa y Control, and you had other fractions that really were there before, especially this bachata scene came. So we kind of understood that there was the dance is so spread out, and that we can learn from so many different sources. So, I mean, I really love that. And for me, a question I wanted to know was what was the first event that you went to that was kind of like bachata oriented?
First event that I went to was bachata oriented. Oh my god. Well, it was not Bachata Monday because we have like these socials that are like Bachata Mondays or like Salsa Fridays or whatever, whatever. Or we have like a
Mhm.
mix one. So that like social itself was like all bachata. And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. I haven't really done this much. And then I think the first event that I went to, I think was the Boston Salsa Festival where they had like, and I was like, oh my God, they have like rooms with like dance, like one dance in it. So there's like
Yeah.
a salsa room and a bachata room. It's the first time I saw anything like that. So I guess that was kind of it where I was like, there's a room for this dance that I want to do. And then I can go to this other room and dance this dance.
And then when you were in these rooms, is it kind of like a culture shock, or was it kind of normal? Did you kind of, I know with you being kind of a new dancer at that point, was it kind of that nervousness of when somebody asks us to dance with you?
I'm going to say no. I felt instantly I was home. That's like the feeling that I got. And I think, so to like talk a little bit in
Mhm.
extent on my journey,
Yes.
dance has always, like I said, like from a young age been like my escape from like a very confusing childhood where I felt like very, very trapped, let's
Okay.
say. And dance was always my like safe space. And through that, I was 5.5 years ago, I got clean. So I'm in recovery. So once I got clean, I was like, wow, there's this space again where I can finally feel like safe to like exist in a way. And again, it was that like feeling of like I could escape like the thoughts in my mind. I could escape like my fears. Like I could just be in a space without having to like feel like I'm trapped in my mind. And like, so being in a space where like it was just dancing was the most freeing feeling that I could have gotten at that time, because I had a lot of like demons in my head where like if I was not dancing, I felt like not okay. So that's why I like dove so like harder. And I still do so hard into it because it helps keep me feeling like sane and safe and okay in my brain. And of course, I've done so much self work where I can like sit with self now. But at first, like that's a huge thing that like kept me clean was dancing every single night and every single day, and like 12 hours out of the 24 of the day.
No, absolutely. And I think it's so important that you can be able to tell your story when it comes to recovery, because we realize that in our dance community, again, a lot of us are adults and we do go to these festivals, we do go to these congresses, and a lot of times we have what they call the hotel parties, the upstairs parties, the after parties. And when it comes in terms of the subject of drinking and having fun, a lot of people don't realize is that even though we are dancers, we also have a life outside of that. And we also face our own realities. And a lot of times, like you said, dance was an escape from your reality because you felt that through dance you could recover. From dance, you had an escape. Because
Mm-hmm.
again, reality is that when we take off those dance shoes, we are still the same person. Difference is that when we have those dance shoes on, we have people that when they see us dance, they can be inspired. But they also should realize is that we are just as human as them.
Mm.
We have the same trials and tribulations as them. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
we have the same flaws. We have the same faults as anyone else. And it's very important. It's very just it shows the human side of you to even speak about that, because a lot of dancers, I believe, go through the same issues, but for them, they have the nervousness or their hesitation to even bring those topics up because they just want everything to be fine.
100%. And my heart was like fluttering, like thinking, because and I talked to somebody else in the scene who spoke about her story in recovery, and we went back and forth about it, and the more I talked about it, like it's still something like that can come with a lot of shame just because of
Mhm.
what our society says is like normal and fears and whatever. And it's been 5.5 years now that I have been clean and have been a dancer and have been in the scene. And I've done like a couple posts about it and, said some things, but I've never really talked in depth, like with my voice and said it out loud. But, when I was first starting and going to festivals, it was something that was really hard for me. And I have a really great support network in my recovery circle, and they were like, find people you feel safe with and like make sure that you always have a way out. So like we were talking about one of my friends, Andrew, that's like someone who was a safe person for me, that I knew if like we got a room, like that
Mhm.
would be like a dry room, or like I would feel safe in that room, and if at any point like I could go back to that room. And like just surrounding myself with people, like these safe spaces are not just for I don't know, but for anything, and also can be like sobriety. And
Yeah.
doesn't even have to be people who are in recovery. It can just be people that don't want to hang around a bunch of drunk people. Because I know for me, being sober, it's like
Yes.
just straight up not fun. No offense to like be
Mhm.
in a room full of drunk people. Like it's just not really fun for me because I crave like true, authentic connection.
Mhm.
I crave like this genuineness. And for me, I just feel like I can't get that when there's that like block of a substance, because that's like what I did. I would block myself off. And I think it's totally fine for people to live their life and do what they want, but I think it's also something that's not talked about enough, of like the fact if somebody doesn't want to partake in like drinking or using or whatever, that should be just as normal as wanting to partake in it. So that's one of those things that can feel kind of scary sometimes. I know, like, when I've been an artist at a festival and I was by myself, because I'm a solo artist, so I traveled a lot by myself, I would be really hesitant to like go to the main room where like all the artists were hanging out of fear of like, what if everybody's drinking and I don't know like someone who like knows my story and I don't feel safe, and then if I leave then they're gonna think I'm a bitch, but I don't want to go, but if I don't go they're also gonna think I'm a bitch, and I'm like, ah. So I've been talking to some other people about this idea of like a pre-party room, but it's like a safe room where we have like juice and we like meditate or something before the social, or like I don't know, something like that. So for like people that are like in recovery, or people that just like don't want to be around a bunch of drunk people, or want to meditate, or want to like get all spiritual and shit, or whatever, because I think it's just important, like, because people get their fuel. Some people get it from like partying and drinking, and trust me, I fucking party. I just don't use any substances, but like some people get it from that, and some people get it in other ways. So to have like those options, I think that's just like an idea. I went on a rant a little bit. In the future,
no, absolutely. I definitely agree, because we understand that in this type of scene, alcohol is definitely something that's just around. It's like inevitable. We have either open bars with bartenders, or people have their own drinks and they go to their own rooms and have little get-togethers. And I think it is very important that we have to understand that people like yourself, but so many others, who choose not to drink or partake in any of that activity, can still feel safe and can still feel comfortable, because a lot of times it's also the words we choose to use, because many people unfortunately kind of outcast those people, maybe not intentionally, but it's those little microaggressions or little sayings that people say that can get under people's skin and just not make them feel comfortable. For me, we had never previously even talked about the road to recovery. This was something for myself that I had recently just found out. And I appreciate you even bringing up the subject, because I had no idea. But for you to have the strength and the courage to even speak about it is honorable, because there is someone that is watching this that possibly has gone through that same recovery, still is, or knows someone, because it's not easy. For me, like this, the topic of alcoholism and just having that issue, did it start with the dancing journey, or this was kind of something that had been from years ago?
Oh, yeah. So I'm an addict. So my addiction led me to spaces of like being homeless and doing like really degrading things. And trigger warning for anybody, but I won't get into too much detail about it. But there's obviously like everybody has a different story. But I think that what you said, something about those microaggressions and stuff, is like my life is fucking beautiful right now, and like I've gotten to a point now where I feel so much love for myself. One, because I've gotten love from so many people like Kyla and Deborah who are commenting here. And I've been able to find the love within myself, where I feel like I don't need to have a substance to feel like I don't need it for myself. Like I feel so confident and so much love within myself. Like I don't need anything to like mask that. But like, there's I don't know, there's been topics spoken about like, don't ask like why you don't drink. And I think there needs to be this distinction, right? Of like that genuineness that I was talking about, is like you can tell when someone's genuinely like, oh wow, like I want to know more about your story. Like can you tell me like why? Like, do you mind talking about it? Versus like, why don't you drink? Like, how do you have any fun and not like do X, Y, and Z, which has happened many times as well. And I've gotten very good at like deflecting those. But yeah, because my journey brought me like real the fuck down, like really, really down. Like those, what you would imagine as like a drug addict is like
Mhm.
what it was. And I won't go into the details, but
Mm.
you don't know somebody's story, right? And everybody sees me as this very like beautiful person because I am beautiful and because I
Yeah.
like someone who truly believes that they're a beautiful person and can like give love and is so confident in herself, which I like am, but that wasn't always the case. And that like
Mhm.
me having a drink could like risk me going back to where I was. So it's just like just being a little bit extra sensitive of being like we don't know everybody's story, and just being respectful and you know making it normal for someone to be like, oh cool, can I get you a juice? Can I get you a water?
Yeah.
No big deal. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to be like excluded or I don't want to be invited to events out of fear of like, is Tina going to get triggered by blah, 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 which is
Yes.
probably why I haven't like said anything about it because no, I still go to events like dancing and going to events is what helps me in my recovery process, what helps keeps me clean and everything. So I also don't want to be excluded at the same time. It's just like, just say, okay, cool. Don't drink? Awesome. No
Yeah.
big deal. Move on. Like that's literally it. It's very simple.
No, I agree because again, this is why I also created this platform is to start those conversations because the conversations that you speak of that people should be having, and it is okay to have asked the question. A lot of people feel it's very uncomfortable, so they don't ask it. But then that still has that it can have that tension because you don't know if I ask this person this, will they feel comfortable? But again, if you won't know until you ask. And I think it's perfectly fine for a person like yourself that is still going through recovery, that have people that are in your same social setting to have that respect for you and to say, hey, Tina, I know that you don't drink and I still want you aboard because even though we're drinking, that doesn't take away from the fact that we can still be social amongst each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I also want you to know that throughout this interview, I'm going to be showing different comments from people, so you'll get to see the comments. I'm just letting all of these comments just like flood in because there's so many coming in. Because again, you do see is that you do have a support system. You do have people that truly, truly care about you. Because again, you are a dancer that I've seen for so many years that just has that aura, that has that presence of confidence, but also you just have a genuineness to you that is rare. And it shows that a person, I can look at you and tell you've been through experiences of your own, but that helped shape you to the person that you are today.
Thank you.
Yes, because I remember when I first met you, I think this was in Rhode Island. I remember you had the long hair and you just had this fierceness to you. And then I guess like months later, I saw the hair was gone. And it was like, I wanna know what created that because a
Why I
lot of
cut my hair.
yes, I would love to know what was the story.
Well, you said something else about like genuineness or something like that I wanted to touch on first. So
Yes.
like I talked about how, you know, dance was like an escape and it still can be an escape for me. But I think over the last like 5.5 years of me being clean and in recovery and being so like delved into this dance community that I've now learned, I don't want to say learned, but I've now been free enough in my mind to want to learn more about myself through dance. So now instead of feeling like I have to escape and be someone else, I've now had dance has now become a way for me to learn more about myself and bring more of myself to the stage or to the people that I'm around. So like in the same sense, it's like while it can be an escape, it can also be a way for us to like dive in deeper to like what's really really inside and be able to like start
Mm,
to show ourselves and show ourselves to our own self because I feel
yeah,
like as humans, you know, we live in this world, whether it's like social media or shopping or whatever, it doesn't have to be like drugs or alcohol, like this escapism, right, of like always like being outside of ourselves. And so what's a transition, and I think part transitioning into what you're talking about, the transition of me and like what dance has meant to me, like
yeah.
why I dance is much different than why I first started dancing when that it is now. Now it's a way for me to like express more of like really what's inside and also to like find out what's inside, like those fears, doubts, insecurities, but also like the love, the beauty, the confidence, and the empowerment that's also within myself as well. So with that, like through dance, I've been able to be more comfortable with who I am, and not even comfortable with who I am, but more comfortable with like discovering who I want to be on whatever given day. And like, I can be a different person tomorrow than I am today. And I think that that's a really important thing to me. And for me to tell the world is that like, you do not have to like keep yourself in a box. Just because you were this way one year doesn't mean you can't be another way next year or tomorrow. So like, I've gotten, questions about like my looks, and I've always changed my looks. Like I've had dreadlocks, I've had a mohawk, like I've dressed this way, I've dressed that way. I've had blonde hair, which is not a good look on an Asian, let me tell you. Well, I did not have, that's not true. It can be a good look on an Asian, but I did have a horrible dye job because I did it myself.
Oh
Not
my
cute.
Lord.
But yeah, I've been able to like show self-expression through my like aesthetic. And I decided to like not think too much about what like I should be and just do whatever I feel like I want to do. So like when I cut my hair, okay, I lied. To be honest, I can be like a little rebellious sometimes. It's like just something within me. So I had this thought about like cutting my hair, and I like posted it. I was like, I'm thinking about cutting my hair. And everyone was like, don't do it. Don't cut your hair. Don't do it. I was like,
Yeah,
well, I'm literally cutting it tomorrow. And I literally cut it the next day because I was like, fuck all y'all. Because, not fuck all y'all, sorry. I was like, because also I feel like in society, especially women, with their hair, it's like this like grandiose idea of like you need to have like when you have long hair you're beautiful, or like the hair is like such a like touchy thing for a lot of people. And it was very freeing for me to be like, fuck that, like I don't care like what I'm supposed to look like I'm gonna cut my hair if I want to cut my hair, I'm gonna grow it if I want to grow it out. And still to this day people are like, when are you gonna grow out your hair? And the more you ask, the more I'm not gonna do it, by the way.
And no, it's something I truly agree with, because people who have actually known me from like years ago, I actually had locks. I actually had a huge head of hair, curly, and I guess
Yes.
when I cut it, it was a release for me. It was like, because I had that same idea of the rebellious of, oh, people told me don't cut my hair, I'm gonna cut my hair. I'm gonna if I want hair now and I don't want hair the next day, then I'm gonna do what I want. Because a lot of times, especially in our society, especially with social media, the biggest issue is that we are so preoccupied on listening to others' perceptions of what they want us to be. Because in reality, besides other people, we are our biggest critic. Because when a lot of times when we doubt things, what is the first word we say is I. I don't think. I don't know. And for us, it's like we have to look within ourselves to really understand who we are, because many people can tell us, hey, you're beautiful. Hey, I love this about you. Hey, I don't like this about you. But in reality, it's about you. It's about what you want at your time. And for us, especially in this dance world, women are looked upon as they say, the women are the paintings and the men are the frames that keep them together. That was an old saying, and in
God, I've
reality,
never heard that
I
before.
know that was an old term. When I was younger, it was more because, especially with couple dances, the woman was the painting that everyone wanted to see, and the guy is just the frame to hold it in place. But in reality, over the years, I've noticed is that, it's not always going to be a couple's routine. The woman is not always going to have this long, lustrous hair. It really is just the person, because when we look besides the image, we want to know what the person is all about. Like you said, you go on stage and you're a totally different person, you have a different persona. And that persona really touches a lot of the dancers that you teach, a lot of the dancers that you come in contact with. Because again, as we dance in the scene, a lot of times we go on and off stage or from workshop to workshop, and we don't get a chance to speak to everyone we come in contact with.
Oh,
And
I love where this is going right now.
yes.
Okay, this is like you are making my transitions like It's like
Come on, this is
seamless, Simon. Look at you go here. You don't even know what is about to happen. Look at this transition. Okay, here we go. So we are talking about like this concept of like looks and what someone's like supposed to look like, right? And we want to touch on like gender norms and all of that idea, right? So I'm a very like interesting specimen, I guess you would say, as like I'm a little bit more butchy looking. I'm like a little, you know, but I'm like very feminine inside as well. Okay. I have many facets of myself. I can be a little butch, I can be a little femme, I can be whatever the fuck I want, whatever day, right? And it's so interesting because so one of my first congresses I went to, nothing wrong with the Congress. I'm just not going to name it for whatever reason because something happened. But it was an amazing Congress. And it was my first time. It was like right after Boston Salsa Festival. And it was my first time taking workshops as a lead. And I was like, oh my God, because I started leading because I was dating somebody at the time and we were two women. And I was like, well, I guess one of us has to like do the other thing so we can dance together. So I was like, all right. And then I was like, wow, I actually like, and we broke up like a week later. So it doesn't even matter. But I was like, wow, I really like doing the other role that I'm like not used to because in ballroom, it was like not a thing. Yes, chameleon vibes. So yeah, I took my first couple workshops. I was like, oh, I really like this. I like being able to like do both. Like, this is awesome. I like to lead. I like to follow. Boom. I was like starting to like, you know, because I've also gone in my fashion from like a little butch to a little femme, little butch, little femme, like back and forth, back and forth. And so at the time it was like the first night of the social and I wore like, I don't know, it wasn't that cute, but I wore like a little blazer. I had a bow tie. I was a little more of a butchy side, you know what I mean? A little more andro butchy like feels going on. And I went and I like was asking all of these follows to dance. And the amount of times I got denied was a lot. Basically got denied like super, super much. And I was like, okay, great. All right. Feeling really shitty about myself. No problem. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to like wait for somebody to ask me to dance as a follow. And nobody asked me to dance as a follow. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? So I went back to the room and I changed into something more femme. And as soon as I did, all of a sudden, people started asking me to dance as a follow. And I was like, and that really, I didn't realize how much it fucked me up. And I actually cried about it at a Margay Fusion Weekender because it was such a safe space and I really let everything out and I cried about it. And I was like, oh my God, it was actually really, it was a really profound like moment because now looking back at it, I was like, oh my God, like, there's this idea of like what a lead and a follow should look like, right? Whether it's like even within like being a female, right? Because I dress more masculine, I must be a lead. So it's interesting now because there was this video that went kind of viral, me dancing with Vladdy, and I was following, and like the amount of comments that were just like, why is this faggot dancing as a follow? And like, why is this a boy or a girl? Which I don't mind. Like, I do not get offended by this. But somebody who is sensitive to those remarks could, like, that could really fuck them up. You know what I mean? Like, thank God I'm in a space where like it didn't. But I was like, okay, so first I got shit for wanting to lead as a female, which I did get shit for wanting to lead as a female. I have a blacklist of people I will not dance with. Sorry. That denied me at the first because they were like, I'm not a lesbian. I'm like, bitch, I'm not into you. I'm asking you to dance because you're short and I'm learning how to lead. You are not cute. Okay, first of all. Or like, but you're a girl. No fucking shit, I'm a girl. Okay. So anyway, I got shit for wanting to lead as a female. And then now I'm getting shit for wanting to follow because I dress the way I dress. And I'm like, child, can't please nobody over here. Thank God I do not give a flying fuck at all about it. But I think those moments, because for me, I'm like, I don't care. I do what I want, da 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 da, which is true. But the reason why it's important to keep talking about this stuff is because there are people that will fuck them up. You know what I mean? Like if I have the advantage of being an instructor. I have the advantage of like being in like a partner dancing for a very long time, ballroom, whatever. I have the advantage of like people knowing me when I go places. Not to sound conceited, but like that's an advantage, right? I have that privilege. Whereas like somebody who's new or also like newly queer or like newly like someone who's maybe non-binary or something, like holy fuck, would that fuck somebody up if they're already struggling with that stuff in their mind, and then somebody says something as simple as like ladies and gentlemen, and then they're like, I'm non-binary, so where do I go? Right? Something like that can really fuck someone up, and then they won't come back. I wouldn't come back if I was like new and I didn't know, and then like I heard blah 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 blah, or I like felt these like gender norms were in place. Anyway, thank you for that transition, because I wanted to go off about that for a second.
No, absolutely. And while we're talking, I'm putting these comments out so you can see. But it is important because a person of like myself, who is straight, who is normally a lead, but is definitely interested in following, it truly is important that a person like myself bring those topics up. Because
yes,
too many times you have the people with the same community talking about the same topics about people in my community that are causing that harm. And for a person like myself to bring that up and say, yes, that is wrong.
Well, speaking on that of like being a straight person, a straight man or a straight lead who like also likes to follow sometimes, like shout out to Renee and Alejandra, because I think it's even, I don't want to say more important, but it can be very, very powerful for somebody to see a straight couple like switching, right? So like a straight man following, or like a straight woman leading, because now it's also like, I don't lead because I'm gay, and I don't follow because I'm a female. So it's very easy for people to think like, oh, Tina's gay and she dresses androgynous, that's why she wants to lead. Or Tina is a female and that's why she wants to follow. And that's like not the fucking case. So it's like, I find it so powerful when I see straight people, just like, because it has nothing to do with gender or sexuality. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be gay to like want to do the other role at all. You know, and that's why I love dancing with Kyla, because she's straight, you know what I mean? And she leads me and she followed me and she's straight, like, and I'm gay. Like, who gives a fuck? We're dancing. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. No, it's true. And like, I see a comment by Christian Sola says the best thing about Tina Cavicchio is that she does not let sexual orientation nor her opinions define her position in dance. That's the way it should be, just like race, age, status, etc. All the energy I get from her is always positive. Thank you for having her. Diamond promoters need to hire her everywhere. Yes, I truly agree with that 100%. Because
thank you, Christian.
You know, what you and we're definitely gonna get into the workings with you and Kyla from Tennessee, because what you guys are doing is really, really awesome. But even more importantly, you speaking about your concerns, speaking about your experiences that may not have always been good, is important, because it is what has happened. And for me, saying in our scene, the quarantine phase we're in now has almost been, for the scene, a very good thing, because it allowed us to kind of take a step back and say, what's important here? Because what do? We go to festivals, we go to congresses, we love on the people we love, but then we go through scenarios that really do, like you said, a lot of people who have probably went through the same situation as you are no longer in this dance scene, because they felt that,
I know for sure.
They felt that hatred, they felt that that shame. And for me, it's like, it's important for a person like myself to tell a person like you that you matter. It doesn't, for me, in recent years now, you're seeing the introduction of more same-sex couples in competitions, same-sex dancers in socials. I talked to a gentleman from Brooklyn who has a dance studio that I remember 5, 6, 7 years ago, or almost 10 years ago, especially in New York, it was not like that. But dancers like Antonio Doza, one of the first ones that came in and was dancing follows better than most women. And I could say that.
Beast.
He really had that I don't give a fuck attitude, and I'm going to be me, and I'm going to be here, and you're going to watch me. That helped show people like, hey, this person's here, this community is here, and they're doing things almost even better because they have to deal with the pressures. And nowadays in our scene, again, I think it's important that we have people like you and others talking on this platform to say, hey, we are here, we are going nowhere. and you have to accept it, because I spoke to Jahaira and Angelica
Love them.
from,
So
yes,
many
from
people.
in La Catch Dance Company. And for me, learning how to change the language I used was very
Same.
important, but to do it live was even more important, because you saw the transition.
Mm.
You saw the language being changed in real time, instead of saying, yeah, I'll do that in the future, but doing it right then and there.
Absolutely. And like, I've had to learn so many things as well. And I think, in this time, like you were saying, it's such an amazing time to like really take a step back and like be willing to open our ears and to listen and to learn. You know what I mean? Like I've done so much learning, and I will continue. Like I am not fucking perfect. Like do not get it twisted. Like I have made my mistakes. And I think the difference is, especially in instructors, is not that like we need to know how to do everything perfect, but just be willing to like learn about what it's like to be in somebody else's shoes. For example, like I was not educated about non-binary folks. And so like some of the language that I was using, like saying hey guys, or like you guys
Yes.
over here, right? Something as simple as that, where I was just like, wait, what? That's not just. But then realizing that like that might trigger somebody. Okay, like let me, and I'm still not perfect, but trying to like correct that and trying to be like, instead of like, what do you mean? Like that's how I talk. Da 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 da. Be like,
Yeah.
let me. How as much is it gonna hurt me to like say like y'all or something instead? Like how much is it gonna affect my fucking life if I change one word in my vernacular when I'm teaching? Right? Like it's very very simple. Some of these like solutions are like very simple. It's just a matter of like listening to it. I don't remember what else I was gonna say about that. There's something else, but that's okay. It'll come to my mind.
No. But that is important, because we have to understand that when it comes to the topic of language and the topic of appropriation, we are seeing an example of a person in the LGBTQ community that also is learning the language. So it's not like you can say a person in that community knows everything.
Oh my
No,
god, no.
we're all learning. And for me, and being straight, I love every community, because we have to realize that our dance community has so much diversity, um, and it's becoming even more open than it ever has been previously, and that is great, because it's evolving.
Mm.
Time has to change. Yes.
Also, on the topic of like language and stuff, even somebody was, God, there was something even in the language of me saying like leads over here, follows over here, something where I was like, how could that go wrong, right? But somebody suggested there was a situation, whatever, someone like didn't want to dance with this follow who was a male, and it like broke my heart because someone who's close to me, and I like posted it, and they were like, well, this is a suggestion of like saying whoever wants to try following in this class and whoever wants to try leading in this class. That way, it's not like you have to be this thing to do it. It's like you can try it out. And it's very interesting that I found. So I've been doing some, a lot of classes where like people are brand new to the dance scene and they come in, they take the class, and using that type of language, the amount of people that it's almost like 50-50 of the people who are male presenting and choose to follow, or female presenting and choose to lead. Like when you make it a norm from the beginning and you mention nothing about what you're supposed to do, and you say, if this is something you want to try, you can do that for the class. It's insane how many people choose to do that when they have like a blank slate. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty much, and like, straight people, like not even like part of the LGBTQ community, like I said, has nothing to do with sexuality. And so even with something as simple as that, it's like I'm also learning how to better let people decide for themselves what they want to do, because even that can be attached in their own leading must be male or something,
Yes.
No,
so
anyway.
It's true, because so long in our dance scene, and it's really just people having, not, it can be ignorance, but it can also just be misinformation. It can just
Oh
be
my god,
someone
100%.
not and like Deborah says, Tina, we are so thankful for you promoting a safe space. That is one of the reasons I joined your amateur team back in the day.
Love you, Deborah. I was just with her like 5 hours ago.
Yes. And then Kyla says, yes, 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 yes. 2021, that room is happening.
Kyla has been pushing me for that safe space room because it's really scary for me, but I'm grateful for Kyla because she's going to push me to do it.
No, absolutely. And we're definitely going to get to Kyla. I'm just already getting to these comments because you're having like almost into the hundreds of comments. You have Carlos here. Oh, man.
Oh, Carlos.
Yes, Rennie, of course.
Rennie. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Showing that switch game as a straight couple. Ugh, makes my heart so fucking happy.
Yeah, you know, it's just that you're seeing that people here, that so many people from this dance community, how many people you've touched, how many people have really just been inspired by you through your journey. And, you know, it's important that you're promoting the notion of no gender norms because, like you said, you're in a dance community where you've been told for so long, leads here, follows here, or men here, women here.
That's
But
still a thing.
yes, and we're in a day and age is that
Crazy.
we have people like me and you and others that are challenging those norms because it is important because we have people in our community that's from all walks of life, every different type of community, and we need to respect that. It
Yeah.
really,
Even just selfishly, like what I was talking about, that situation that happened in like Jersey, and people always ask me, do you like to lead or follow better? And I swear it is 100% and 100% for both. I love to do them both equally. So selfishly, I want to be able to spend 50% of the time following, 50% of the time leading when I go somewhere. And I want that to be the norm. And it is for the most part now, like I said, because I have privilege of like being an instructor and people knowing that like I like to switch and whatever. But I would hope that in the future that it becomes the norm for anybody that wants to switch. And it doesn't mean that you have to like to switch dance or you don't have to like to do both. You can choose to like only want to follow and like that is completely okay. And someone that does talk really nicely about this is Juan Calderon about like the language we can use about asking people like, instead of asking someone, do you want to dance without asking them, would you like to follow? Would you like to lead? Would you like to switch dance with me? Like asking them before assuming a role that they want to take. So even language of like asking people on a social dance floor to dance, of like mentioning, if I'm like, I really want to lead this next dance, I'm going to ask somebody and say, would you like to follow? Because maybe they don't want to follow. Maybe they want to lead. And now if I assume that, then maybe I put them in a position where they feel like they can't say no to it or whatever. And again, very simple.
yes, even Deborah says this series is helping a lot of us stuck in our heads these days. It is true because again, like you're not the only one that has these same thoughts, but it's also you're the one that is disseminating and explaining how you feel because a lot of the people in our community have the same exact sentiments, have the same concerns, but they also don't feel that their voices will be heard because
Oh,
then you
100%.
know it's
Yeah.
it can be definitely kind of thrown to the wayside. And for us, it's like, hey, a lot of us have been ignorant to what's really going on, to many subjects of just sexual harassment, the powers of authority, just taking advantage of their students, and these are topics that have been around for so many years. Just people not being respectful in general. It's not as complex as many people might perceive it to be. It's just we choose to make it complex. It's when you see something wrong, you should say something. You
Yeah.
shouldn't let it just fall to the wayside and say, well, it didn't have to do it. Because what happens is in our scene or just in life, if we aren't affected by it, it doesn't affect us. So when we see incidents happen that's simply not affecting us personally, we kind of don't give it the same care. We don't give it the same attention. And for me, like I appreciate now with you now transitioning into doing these classes with Kyla, but it's more than just teaching steps. You're giving history, you're giving lectures, you're educating your students. And I would love for you, as we kind of roll through these comments, to now give that story of how you met Kyla.
Oh, I love Kyla. Okay, I want to just touch on something that you said before we get into Kyla because
Absolutely.
I fucking love Kyla so much. I can talk about her forever. But you know, you're talking about like people's voices and stuff, and you know, like you were talking about sexual misconduct and you know, people abusing like power and all of these things. And I think, you know, I'm really grateful that you have this platform right now and you're using it to bring people on to talk about sensitive topics, because one of the most harmful things can be for somebody to come out and share their story about something so traumatic in their life and to not have like the voice for people to listen to them, right? And that's why I think it's very important, you know, speaking even on Black Lives Matter, right? We talk about privilege, and us as instructors or influencers have a privilege where people are going to listen to what we say more than your average Joe that might be going through something that they feel like they don't have the voice to talk about. So, you know, with that said, when we talk about all these things like inclusive language and like speaking about things when you see something wrong, or like giving the voice to somebody that doesn't have it, it is so important as instructors, because those are the people who like the many are going to listen to and be influenced by. So even when it comes to language of like, if someone very, very high up is saying, ladies and gentlemen, that's what's going to stick in someone's mind. Or if somebody is not speaking up when there is sexual misconduct going on from someone in power, then like that's what's going to seem like the norm. So like as people with influence and privilege, like it's a huge, huge responsibility to like create what the norm is in our community. So anyway, I wanted to touch on that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Also, I love Jenna. She's here too. So yay.
Yes. Jenna's here. I mean, we have a lot of people right now on this platform watching, and it's awesome because you just see that people really do care for what you have to say because you have a voice. And even if you were on this platform or not, I appreciate that you're able to speak.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, and that kind of now leads into
okay, we're talking about Kyla, right? Oh God, your transitions are very nice. You have a very talented transitional like skill.
It's a flow, and mind you, I don't have any questions. It's like I flow.
It's perfect because it's genuine, and I love that. I love that genuineness. We were talking about Kyla. Yes. I love Kyla so much. And yes, like, you know, I think, I don't know, our goal is not to like break norms just to break norms, but I feel like, you know, we break a couple norms in the community a little bit. Shout outs to all of my curvy dancers. I am not one of them, but oh my God, I live for the curvy dancers because, you know, again, it's one of those things where I've had to learn about my own biases or thoughts that have come into my mind about what someone's supposed to look like. I'll touch on it in a second because I'm not perfect, like I said. But Kyla is an incredible, incredible, incredible person and fucking dancer. So amazing. And, you know, I have seen many incredible curvy dancers who are judged upon the way that they look, right? Because it's a norm. There's some sort of like standard of what like a dancer should look like. And I had that in my mind too, right? Me and Kyla were taking we were doing like some yoga class or something. We were trying to find, I don't know, we were doing something stretching on, and we were just looking through like YouTube videos. I was like, oh, that one looks good. She looks like she knows what she's talking about. And Kyla was like, why? And I was like, oh, I don't know. She like looks fit and like she's like, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, I have a standard in my mind of what like an athlete should look like, or someone that like knows what they're supposed to talk about is supposed to look a certain way. And I was like, wow, I had to check myself on like what and this was like not that fucking long. It was like a few months ago. Okay. So it's just, and you know, it's not like something that makes me a bad person. It's just like what this society has told us a dancer is supposed to look like, or an athlete is supposed to look like, or someone that can like move is supposed to look like, right? Which is just like not the fucking case. Kyla is a great example of that, right? And so many other people as well. Anyway, so that's like one thing. Yes, curvy dancers, live it up and speak about it, because I cannot be that voice. All I can do is just like Yes,
Yes.
say yes to all of it. And then, of course, she's straight, I'm gay, we're both female, we both lead and we both follow. So that is great. And I think that for both of us, dance is something that is so much greater than movement, right? It's like an avenue for healing. It's an avenue for self-searching. It's an avenue to love ourselves. It's an avenue to love other people, to empower other people, and to empower ourselves. And Kyla has taught me so much in terms of taking a breath and like realizing why I'm here. Because for a long time, I was, I've always been very like spiritually centered when I danced, but I didn't always know how to like express that to other people, to like help them get into that space with me. And Kyla is a fucking genius when it comes to that. And I've learned so much from working with her. And it's very easy to get into this space of like, okay, we have to produce a product. We need to like make it the most complicated. We need to make the most like entertaining thing. We got to like make sure we're better than this person. Da, 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 da. And it's like, hold the fucking phone. Why the fuck are we here in the first place? You know what I mean? Like, why am I here? I'm here because like I want to like not have to like be in my crazy head, and I like want to feel freedom. I want to feel freedom. Okay, I'm here because I want to feel freedom. Like what are the reasons that other people are here? Let us ask them about it. How are we going to know if we don't ask them, right? So we ask them what it is and we help them get that thing. And normally when we ask, why are you here? Like, why do you want to dance? Why do you want to do this challenge? Why do you want to be in this class? Blah, blah, blah. It's something, usually it is not related to dancing. It's usually not related to like, I want to learn technique. That's usually not the thing. It's like, I want to love myself more. Like, I want to feel more confident, right? And it's like, dance is the avenue to like get there, but also like remembering the why is really important in how we deliver the information.
Yes, it's absolutely true. And just, I'm sorry to cut you off, but there's a question actually from Lenny. He asks, outside of language, what do you recommend as dance leaders or even dancers to promote more open-mindedness to break these rules?
I love this question and love you, Rennie. So what I've found is that it can be tough. We can only do so much when we teach a class, say at like a club or where somebody else is like the ultimate authority at that venue, right? And I have brought some suggestions to venues about like having the instructors like sign a contract of like using inclusive language or such and such so that all the instructors are on board with that. But I've also found that like when I have the autonomy completely over a course or my class, then I'm able to set the ground rules. So for example, I did like a 6-week course and whoever signed up for it knew exactly what they were getting into, that everybody was going to switch, that gender inclusive language was going to be used. We were going to respect pronouns, A, B, C, D, blah, blah, blah. All these things were very much laid out so that the people that signed up knew exactly what they were getting into. And all of those people learned not just dance, but like how to ask somebody to dance, right? Like if they want to like ask, would you like to follow? Would you like to leave? Would you like to switch? Blah, blah, blah. They learned about like consent and like how to properly, I don't want to say properly, how to best promote consent in dance. And so those people I found, I got feedback from a lot of the dancers that came to that course or have come to my classes that they were spreading that knowledge to other people just from existing. So long-winded answer is I found that when I have autonomy over a course and making it very, very clear and making it just as much about dance as it is about consent and about our way of thinking about dance. And then those people hopefully will continue the cycle, because I think a huge reason in Boston is because not just myself, but we have other people like Jen and Louise who promote, this inclusive language of, this just beautifulness about dancing. So it just like, it will spread, you know, that person will then ask somebody consent in a way, and they'll be like, no one's asked me that before. I really like that. Okay, I'm going to start asking somebody else, right? Because it's something that I also learned, right? Somebody asked me a consensual question. Juan Calderon was like, are you okay with closed position? And I was like, or maybe it wasn't me, but anyway, something along those lines, right? Where I was just like, holy shit, I have a choice, right? Because I didn't know I had a choice. Because also as a follow, and me and Kai talk about this all the time, is like a lot of times when you're in a class and the follow never speaks or is never spoken for as like if they have a choice, subconsciously it can tell people that follows don't have a choice, right? Is like, you have to do whatever the lead makes you do, which should not be the case. So we always teach, you know, that you always have a choice. So for example, in something as small as like, are you comfortable with closed position? And I was like, oh my God, I mean, absolutely. Now I feel safe. Now, absolutely, I'm okay with it. Thank you for asking me that. Where I was just like, wow, I've never been asking that question before. And maybe it would be nice for me to ask that question. So I started asking it to people that like I've never danced with before, that I didn't know if they were comfortable with it. And like the response was like, whoa, thank you for asking me that question. And it's very simple and it's not weird or awkward. But like, that's one of those things that can create this like tumbleweed effect. And then more and more people will maybe do it or not.
I mean, I think so, because again, when you can actually just give those answers, when you can help people who are just honestly have a question, who want to know what they can do, um, to help better the community, or help, you know, just become more aware. Because again, like you said, having Juan actually ask you a question like that really seems so simplistic, but it's like it boggles your mind because you haven't been asked that before. Because it is true.
Right.
Follows are really like not abruptly or not like forwardly, but a lot of times follows are just meant to follow and allow the lead to lead, and you
Mm.
follow just leads.
Oh my God. Also, like something even more important, if you want to lift me or flip me on the dance floor, fucking ask me first. The amount of times I've gotten literally flipped all the way around
Are you
on a
serious?
social, I swear to God, I think it's because I'm small. So people are like, oh, she's small and flexible. So you can, and I'm not that fucking flexible, but like I can flip her upside down. And I'm like, and there's been one person that's asked me, are you okay with me lifting you up? And I said, yes, because they asked me, I felt like I could trust them. Everybody else, I'm like I had a very, and still do have a very bad hamstring injury, and like I got hurt one time from somebody flipping me up on the dance floor without asking me first. Like, so something like that is like, don't fucking lift and flip people on the dance floor without asking. But if you ask, just ask. If you ask, maybe they'll say yes or they'll say no, and then you won't piss them off and not dance with you again. You know what I mean? It's like, oh,
It's so true, because I definitely seen, as being a dancer transitioning into a videographer, you've known that when I'm filming, you know how many people I'm filming a night, and you also notice is that I've been filming all night, but not all of that footage is coming out, because there's so many good things I've seen, but there's a lot of bad. There's a
oh,
lot
I'm
of,
sure you have
especially.
some good content to look back on.
Oh, and absolutely. And for me too, I had to then take the initiative of talking to the follows, specifically the women who have been victims of the same actions of just specifically men who are leads, not asking for that consent or not asking permission to do certain things. Because the biggest issue I've seen in our dance community, you can call it spilling the tea, giving, just giving shade, but people really need to understand how to dip. And people also have to, yes, the biggest thing is the dips, and understand the tricks and flips should be made for the stage and not the dance floor.
100%. And I don't want to like put all the blame on instructors here, but like I said, we have a big responsibility. So something that me and Kai tried to make sure that we do is that we respect each other when we dance, and that we dance in a way that like we would dance with anybody else. Meaning that like if we're teaching a combo, we are not going to add some flips into our demo. because we did not fucking teach that. And if somebody is watching us and all of a sudden one of us is flipping up in the air, subconsciously they're going to be like in the class, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to flip that person, or, oh, I'm supposed to grab that person's ass, right? Like, you know, and I've heard other people talk about this too, of like just making it clear that like, and you know, if you, we choose not to do that. We're also not a couple, but if you are a couple, just saying, this is my girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, my partner. And so I'm going to touch them in this way, but this is not something that we do with anybody, right? Like very simple things are like, if you're going to do a flip, be like, we're going to show you this thing. Or at the end of it, be like, yeah, we did all these tricks, but this is not what we taught. This is our performance. Or just don't do it or something. You know what I mean? But like, if people do what they see. So if you're like doing that in a demo, people are going to be like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to flip people and grab their ass.
That is a big issue that I've had to actually myself. There's been moments that I've taken away the camera, spoken to the person that that's happened to, and asked them, was this consensual? Because by looking at this camera, I am seeing facial expressions. You know when someone is into it, and you know when someone is uncomfortable. And too many people, especially men, have a big problem of thinking that just because this woman can dance bachata and move her body does not give you the consent to feel up on her.
Yes. Yes. And so like going back to Rennie's question, you know, something that I teach is like, sometimes it can be daunting to have to ask, like, you know, we're here in a way of like nonverbal communication, right? And there's always a way to like non-verbally always give the follow the option to get out of something. So as simple as that, right? Instead of being like, okay, I'm in closed position, of like suggesting they come into closed position, but not touching them right away, for example, right? Like going close to them, but like not completely touching them. That way, if they're like, they can pull away and they have the option. So I think there's ways also to do it very like eloquently, or, I don't know if that's the right word, do it very like gracefully, where you don't have to be like, can I put you in close position now? Can I dip you? Right? It's just doing it in a way where like you're not being so tight, or you're not grabbing their head or something, you know, like touching their, don't touch my face also, don't touch my face.
Oh
like
my God.
Little things, right? Or like just giving them always like, you know, having this arm not touching them so that way they can leave in this direction. Like simple stuff of just
it's simple. It's so, because what you just said with the head, the main movement of like doing that. Like I've seen the guys like touch, and it makes me laugh, but it also like upsets me because like a lot of leads, especially men and with women, a lot of the number one issues too is they believe that because they're dancing bachata, and if it's sensual bachata, even though I believe bachata is bachata, when it comes to sensual, a lot of these men then feel they have the duty to connect, but also they don't realize the connection can be very creepy, can be very uncomfortable, can be actually very disrespectful, and you're invading someone's space. And what happens is a lot of also follows who take classes sometimes aren't really shown what's right and what's wrong. They're just shown steps. They're just shown movements, but they're not shown like, hey, if you're in this position, and I say, if you have to think about it, probably wrong.
100%. Something that I always say in my classes to anybody who is leading is, if you cannot do it yourself, do not lead it on somebody else. You should be able to do everything that you are trying to lead on another human. So if you're trying to lead all this crazy shit, you better be able to do that shit too. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to have your own body awareness to be able to lead it on somebody else. And yes, the whole poking the head thing. There's also things that are like illusions, right? And me and Bree Jones taught a class on YouTube versus reality, right? And there's all these things that like, it looks like the person's going, oh my God. And I've literally seen someone with like a fucking like bruise right here from someone poking them. And again, it's like, because we live in this world where so many things are easily accessible on like YouTube, people will go and they do what they see, right? And it's like, okay, it's not their fault, but like we also have to teach that a lot of these things are not what they look like. So like, with this move, it's actually led from like the back here of like just a regular body isolation. And this is an illusion of their preparation. But anyway, long story short, there's work that needs to continue to happen because there's always going to be new movements. There's always going to be the next person trying to do the new fancy thing, which is great. It's just also important that we continue to tell people that like it's important to learn basic decency when it comes to dance. Like the follow always has a choice. The follow always can say no. The lead can everybody can always say no to whatever is happening. Is very important and needs to be said much, much more in classes, in every class. Every class, they can say no all the time. You can always walk away. You can always say no to a dip.
And it's like even Daniel says that Carlos Espinosa move. I know exactly what he's talking about. It's that move with the head. And the thing is, a lot of times the leads, they're looking at instructors doing it with their partners and try to emulate that in a social setting.
Right.
That's where we have to again separate the performance from the reality. Separate YouTube from the reality. And it's like
100%.
you have it.
Yes, Jenna, it is all about the fucking basics. So something that me and Kai, going back to Kai here, is when we teach our classes, like I love all little genres of bachata. Bachata is bachata, but I love all the different styles of it. But I get asked to teach sensual often. And something that I really love to do is to show people that we can make something feel more sensual in our own body. So as opposed to learning a bunch of different like crazy movements, we can, as the lead and the follow, change our own body movement to prep a turn a little bit differently, right? Or to use our own body as the lead to like create this illusion of more of a sensual feel instead of having to manipulate the follow to do it, right? Like we can, as the lead, look more sensual if we want, and doing it in like a basic way with stuff that we think is just like urban bachata or modern bachata, whatever. That's a very big umbrella term, but yes, it can get God. Anyway, we won't get on the train on that because it can get a very, very, very crazy in the world of the sensual stuff. Sometimes I will just say.
No,
and
absolutely.
Simplicity is beautiful. Simplicity is beautiful, and it's all you need because it is different than performing, child. Let me tell you, it is a whole different thing. We want people to feel good. We don't want people having their necks broken out, right? Like we want people to be feeling good and safe and enjoying themselves. And you don't got to do any complicated shit to do that. And
that's 100% on the ball. And then honestly, then even your partnership then with Kyla, that really now transitions to like towards the end of now your work of now creating your own company. And I really would love you to kind of expound on your creation of Next Level.
Next Level is like my heart and soul. I love them so fucking much. Next Level was like a dream of mine, partially for many reasons, but there have been spaces that I was in the dance community that didn't feel very safe or didn't feel very empowering. There were spaces that I was in that, brought me down, made me feel like really low about myself. And I saw it happening to other people. And, whether that's like body shaming or, just whatever it may be, not very empowering. And so I had this dream of mine to like just create some sort of space where people's differences could be fucking celebrated because I love the beauty in this world and our community and the representation of all colors, body sizes, genders, non-genders, lead, follow, so like whatever. And so like that is like the main goal of Next Level,
Mhm.
is for people to be able to come into a space and feel like they're fucking celebrated. Like who they are and what they bring is celebrated. And that is the main goal of it. Everything else is like extra. Everything else is like, oh, Next Level, yay, we have Pina and Kyla. But I also selfishly, like I said, I've been doing different styles through my life, and I continue to train in all sorts of styles just because I love dance and movement and culture and history, and I love everything about it, where I don't like to put myself into a box. So I also wanted Next Level to be a space where like we can learn from each other, we can learn from other instructors, we can fuse. There's like nothing that isn't fair game. Like, so we are not even like a Latin dance team. We can do any sort of dance style. So sneak peek into this season, you know, we do have some bachata, we have hip hop, we have voguing, whacking, we have Afro-Cuban. And so with that said, I myself always have so much learning to do. And so this season, we really wanted to delve into some of the history of where these dances come from. So even something like voguing, right, where a lot of like Black and Latinx people didn't really get the credit for like Madonna's like Vogue, for example, right?
Yes.
Of like where the ballroom scene, and when I say ballroom, I don't mean like partner dancing, but like ballroom, the Vogue scene. And so it's really important that like if those movements are used, that we like understand where their history comes from. And so I thank Michael Pina for suggesting that and bringing and helping me bring somebody in, Enzo, who's amazing. And same with, you know, our Afro Latin dances as well, of making sure that we're paying respects to where these dances come from, and that we're giving credit where credit's due. Because I think that's really important, especially with this whole Black Lives Matter thing, of what people that I've been hearing is just like a lot of people just don't get credit of like where some of these things fucking come from. And that's very sad. So I think it's very important for us to like stay educated, myself to stay educated. And we try to keep Next Level as educated as possible with the dance forms that we choose to learn.
No, absolutely. And like you touched on the voguing aspect and the whacking, me coming from New York City, coming from Harlem, where when you see the shows like Pose, they were talking about the ballrooms that I used to live near. When I was younger as a teen, I was in a dance group with guys that we had half of them were gay males and half of us were straight. And they allowed us into their world, so we understood at teenagers what that world was like. Yeah, they would take us to the pier and meet their friends and meeting and seeing that world.
I'm so jealous.
You know,
oh my
and
God.
so, yes. So for me, it's like even as a straight male being exposed to that, I know everything you're talking about. Because again, it is about giving credit, because we have to give credit to these dances that we dance to, understanding the history. That's what it's about. If people want to become more informed and more aware, take the time and the necessary time to educate yourself, because it's all about education. It's okay if you're ignorant to a topic, but it is not okay if you don't choose to educate yourself on that topic.
100%.
Because
even something
it
like
is because
like that I've even heard like with bachata, right? Like I've heard some people, which is just crazy to me, you know, some people saying that they've seen that some students in like, you know, other countries or certain areas that like don't even know where bachata comes from, right? Or they think it comes from like Spain or something, you know what I mean? And it's like, wow, something, it's just, it again, very simple. It's just like saying like, this dance that comes from Dominican Republic. Boom! You kind of just hit the nail on the head. Very simple. Boom. You can like move on. It's just like even something like that. It's very important just to like know where this dance comes from. And like if that's the only thing you can say at that moment, then like that's all you can say at that moment. But at least that, you know.
yes. And then even I love Michael says the live discussion with Diamond featuring Tina, the category is face. Yeah, yes.
I would walk
Yes.
face. We already if we had a house,
Oh
I would
my
walk
God.
face.
So wait,
I have to say my face.
are you not walking? You're not going to be walking Butch Queen though?
I could also walk that as well.
I mean, but you can.
We've like
and that's for
decided
me.
some categories.
Yes, and it's about appreciation for all dance forms, for understanding that again, we may just be some, like you said, in next level, you're doing whacking, you're doing voguing, you're doing bachata, you're doing hip hop, you're doing all different styles because you want to give appreciation. Because, like you said, you're not a Latin based group specific. You are hitting all of the realms, and it's people like Michael and it's people like Kyla and it's so many other people in our dance scene that do appreciate. Oh, tens, we get tens.
Yes. Thank you, Auntie. Thank you. Yeah, so I mean, it's like also selfishly because I'm a little crazy artist and I get really inspired by so many things, right? Like all the time. And I also love learning from the people that are like on the dance team. Yesterday on the training team, someone was like, "Hey, can I teach some Bhangra from India?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, like that's awesome." So we like learned some of that. And I think it's just dance is also just a beautiful way to get more connected with like our history. You know what I mean? There's so much history in dance. And like, if we don't want to be like just going to a history class at a university, like we have the dance world that can like teach us about it. You know what I mean? Like, and teach us the history. And, um, and that it's a more fun way for me to digest it, I guess. So it's a selfish thing.
No,
And
no.
I throw so many things at them all of the time. And they're like,
Mhm.
okay. But I think they just roll with it now.
No, absolutely, and that's awesome because you've seen the growth of you as a dancer in the beginning, now becoming an instructor, and now becoming really like a founder of a company. And you see the responsibility changes over time, and what you have done is evolve. You've evolved as a person, you've evolved your language, um, and it's really commendable because again, a lot of times what we see in our society is people don't like to change.
Mm,
People don't want to, they just want to conform to what they know. But we realize in this world, everything changes. Dancers come and go out of the scene, companies come and go out of the scene, and that's how the times are. But it's also the language we use and how something you can feel is so minuscule can be so harmful to someone. And
mm,
even if you didn't mean it, but then again, being informed of what you're doing, if it is wrong, and then educating yourself and changing that action, that's where we see the growth. That's where we see the progression.
100%. Yeah.
And for me, it's like having this conversation with you was like, so it's for me, like I tell everybody, it's like a free therapy session
Mm,
because you get to just be yourself, you get to release, you get to tell your story. Um, and it's been amazing. I mean, for me at least, um, I love that I was able to, really get to hear Tina and see your journey. Understand, even if it's just a small segments of your journey, I got to understand more of you than I ever did from when I met you 4 years ago.
I
And
know.
remembering the person I met, yeah, remembering the person I met 4 years ago, the fact that I can see every year you've evolved, and
Mm,
every year you've gotten better, and every year you've grown. That's what's important. And for me, at least, we're kind of at the conclusion of the discussion. But again, I would love for you to just, what is something that you want your audience to know?
mm. I think again, your transitions are bomb as fuck. Um, on that topic of like growth and evolution is like for me, it's been a journey of acceptance because sometimes I think the world doesn't want to see change like in somebody or maybe is uncomfortable with somebody changing or evolving so quickly or in so many different ways. And you know I think being okay within myself to forever keep evolving and growing and changing. And it might look very different to the outside world, like what I might be next year as opposed to right now. But like being okay with that for myself, of feeling like I don't have to stick myself in a box and I can always be a new facet of something within myself. I can be a new version of myself tomorrow if that's like what I feel is like my true self in that moment. Um, And I think with that is like, as somebody who wants to do the best that they can to do the right thing, to empower people, but isn't perfect and doesn't always do the right thing, to always be open to like listening to people. Quick example, one of my students, I picked a song for the routine and they were like, actually, this song, there was a discussion that it could be offensive. I was like, thank you so much for telling me that. Let's take it out. And I want to know more why about that is. But even something as simple as that is just like taking the ego down, right? And like just realizing that like we're not fucking perfect and that like we will grow once we begin willing to just listen to people and to not be defensive, right? Or not feel like we need to know all of the answers. Like, because none of us, like even as dancers, it's not, there's never a point where like we're at the top, there's nothing else to learn, right? Because I don't want to learn from that person. If they have nothing else to learn, I'm not learning from you.
Mhm.
Like even as a dancer, right, we always have more to learn. As people, we always have more to learn and more to grow. So I just encourage everybody to like find in yourself if there's any like boxes you feel like you've been put into, whether it's by society or in your own mind, and decide for yourself if you want to take a step out of that box and explore more about yourself or who you want to be, and be okay with it evolving and changing all the time if you wanted to.
No, oh my God. I mean, everything you're saying just across the board is a 10. Across the board is
10s across the
real. Because
board.
yes. And like Tyler says, you're being unapologetically you in this present moment is what empowers us all to be unapologetically ourselves. It is powerful. You are a force. So grateful for your heart. And that is the genuineness that comes from the people that you've impacted.
I love you,
And
Kai.
again, yeah, it's important, and always a student dancer, because like now you have your own company, and now the responsibility of you kind of guiding your students in the right direction, because it is so easy to take them left when you need to take them right, and to
Mm-hmm.
see that you listen to your students' concerns, you are learning from your students just as they're learning from you. And for me,
Yeah.
I hope more than ever, especially when we come back to our scene in the future, when things are safer, that we have way more instructors that are just like you. We have way more people that have your same intent, that have your same inspiration and your focus. Because again, there are so many more people in this world that are like you. But by listening to a story like this, it's going to inspire them to then start that conversation, because
Mm,
this is what the platform is about. It's about starting those conversations that also can be deemed uncomfortable, but it's okay, because these
absolutely.
conversations need to happen so we can grow. And at least last but not least, I would love for you to at least give your information on your future projects or classes and contact information.
Yes. Okay. I'm very bad at having like a whole plan going on, but I do have a class coming up this Saturday at 12:30. It's going to
Mhm.
be an advanced bachata footwork class. It's going to be challenging, but it's a good way to challenge ourselves, and that's how we grow, is by challenging and putting ourselves in uncomfortable places. So if you're interested in that, I have all the details on my page. And also, I just want to say that like being genuine and being my true self is something I have to learn how to do. So if there's anybody that is like, what does that even mean or whatever, I don't know, it's like something that I'm always still learning how to do, to like be genuine, to like breathe, not let that fear sit in, and to speak authentically, which I have not always done in the past. So I thank you very much for making this safe space for me, because I was very, very
Absolutely.
nervous about talking about subjects like sobriety and recovery that are very
Mhm.
scary. And I appreciate that I felt safe enough to share all of those really, really personal things, that I hope can help somebody, or know that if they travel to a Congress and I'm there, that I am that safe space for them, that they have somebody else that is like them, if that other room doesn't exist.
Yes, and I definitely hope, and I know I want to be a part of those safe spaces. Because even myself, I do drink, but I'm not really much of a drinker. I mean, for me, I'd rather enjoy everybody's company under a sober influence, because a lot of times when it comes to alcohol, so many people use as an excuse for their actions. And I think the more people that we can have in our scene that just have a sober outlook on things and just don't have anything that's going to alter their emotions, the better. And for me, I truly, truly thank you so much, Tina, for having and even Kyla saying that she can't wait to FaceTime you after
I
this.
know. I'm gonna FaceTime her literally. when we got off the phone.
And for me, it's like I always let everybody know this is our first discussion, but it won't be our last. And I definitely want to bring you back on in the future, to really just get an understanding of what's happening with Tina, later on. Because again, it's not just about a one and done discussion. This is a discussion that's gonna have a part 2 and a part 3 and a part 4, because I want people here to understand like who Tina is in whole, and realizing that you're more than just a dancer. You're a beautiful human being that has
Yes.
so much to offer. And like you said, you have a space that you create that is a safe space. Just like this platform is a safe space, because
Yes.
I respect your voice, I respect your vision, I respect your hustle, and just I thank you again for allowing me to share your story.
Thank you. And it genuinely feels safe, which is why I got to talk about so many things. So thank you for being genuine and creating this space. Truly, truly. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. I want to thank you again, and I want to thank the audience so much, because you have so many of your friends that just been posting away. So you see, a lot of these people have been on since the beginning.
I love Jenna. I love all these people so much.
Yeah, and it's like, see, like Kyla's like, this was so good. I laughed, I cried. That's what we're complete. This is a free therapy session, because you don't have to pay for it. Because when it comes to therapy, things can get very expensive. So I'm glad that you can have this type
I
of
feel
release.
lighter.
Yes.
I do. I
Yeah.
really do. I feel lighter. I got things off my chest that I've never openly said, and it feels really good to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah. I love it. And you can see the smile
Yeah,
exude
I feel
from
lighter, Diamond.
your And just always know that you can always message me, privately. We can always have another discussion coming up, because already I'm having so many more discussions. But you're one of the people that I want to constantly bring on this platform and give and share your voice and share your stories and experiences.
Therapy session, because a bitch is not paying for therapy right now. So I will take the free therapy. Let me tell you, I will take it. My insurance does not cover therapy right now. So you know what I'm saying? I'll take it.
Absolutely. So again, this is our first discussion, but it surely won't be our last. So I definitely wish you a beautiful night. Please stay safe out there, as well as the audience. I love you all for just tuning in. And, we'll definitely meet again under a safe space.
Genuine love. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Have a beautiful night, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Everyone, bye.
Bye.